All right, hey everyone. This is ChessNerdBird here with the very first video of 2019 for chess tactics training. So like I do every year, I reset my tactics training stats here on chess.com, and so I reset this to no stats whatsoever. So the goal this year is to be a lot more consistent in my training, doing better with my habits overall. And so something that I did leading into 2018 and kind of exiting 2018 with was the 100 Days of Chess Challenge. That was something that I feel like really prepared me for my Charlotte Open tournament and helped me get a lot better at my tactics training. And so that's something I want to do, become more consistent with. So one kind of, I guess, chess resolution for the new year is to not just get better, but to build better habits, especially around tactics training and just staying sharp. So even if I can't spend, a lot of time on my chess training, on other areas, at least staying sharp with tactics and not blundering in positions as much. So yeah, we're just starting from the beginning. If you've seen some videos in the past, this will be very similar. So the only goal here is build consistent habits and let you all see the thought process behind how I solve tactics and the progression of, hopefully over time, as I get stronger as a chess player, and then also being able to see that progression over time with the thought process. So without further ado, the rules are basically 30 minutes to solve as many tactics as I can, with a focus on solving accurately. So that's what this session is about. Offline and off camera, I do some other training sessions that work on time management and intuition and accuracy, but this session for recording purposes is just going to be focusing on accuracy, even if it takes me 30 minutes to solve one puzzle. So that's going to be how this works. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to start the we'll start the timer, and then we'll start our first tactic puzzle. So okay. So very first thing I'm noticing is the weak back rank. So it looks like I can just play rook b8 check. Rook has the block, rook e8, only move, and then rook takes e8 is checkmate. So we're going to go ahead and play this. And first one is solved. All right. So that bumped us up quite a few points there. In this position, the first thing I'm noticing is that I can create a passed pawn here with a6. And then black has no way to stop my pawn from just advancing all the way down the board. And so, yeah, that looks like the move we're looking for. All right, so another one solved there. All right, noticing that the queen just moved away. It looks like the rook was attacking it. And so, see if there's a way that we can take advantage of the queen being here, because this bishop is undefended on b7. And so if we first look at checks, we don't have any checks. Well, we have queen a4 check, but that just hangs our queen. Next thing, can we capture any pieces? We can't capture anything. And so now we're going to look at some threats. So I can play rook and b1, threatening a queen. If I threaten a queen, does black have any like desperado type moves, any in-between checks? So black doesn't have any checks. Black does have a capture on f3, but then I take the queen. So that's no good. So no captures that concern me. If queen takes b1, this queen takes b1. And if the queen moves away, has no way to guard the bishop on b7. So that's what it looks like that we're doing. So one thing that we do a lot of times, especially lower rated players, and myself included, is we'll look at our own checks, captures, and threats. But when we consider our best move, we don't always consider our opponent's checks, captures, and threats on the following move. So visualizing rook b1, does black have any threats, anything that can happen? And the answer is no, because we're just going to win a piece on b7 here. Okay, so that would take a lot longer than what we needed to, but I think that was a very instructive puzzle. Just looking at no specific ideas. All right, so the first move that pops out to me is queen h5 in this position. Just not even looking at anything else. I guess the idea is that just because it's a check, but after the king moves away, white doesn't really have anything. And if you think that queen h5 has to be met with g6, then you win a knight, then that's good, but black has other options. Just moving the king away just seems like the safest one, or just blocking with the knight, and retain the option in the castle. But the other move that is really good here is going to be probably bishop b5, pinning the queen to the king. And again, just looking for black's checks, captures, or threats. The queen can't do anything because it's going to be pinned, so it looks like we're just winning a queen here. All right, so we're playing with the black pieces here. This king is very far advanced. I feel like maybe I should just have a pretty quick checkmate. My knight moves don't check the king. Can the king move anywhere? The other thing that I start looking at is just checks with the queen, because if the king's pretty trapped in the position, then sometimes you can force a checkmate that way. The knight is hanging here. But with such a weak king, I feel like there should be something. Maybe we can play d5 check. d5 check. If king steps forward, let's just look at this line first. d5. King steps forward. My king is pretty much stuck. I could even take on c4 with check. And if the king steps even further further up the board, I don't know, that starts to look a little like queen c7 check, king c5. I feel like the king starts to kind of wiggle his way out of here. So d5, king up, probably just simple. Yeah, hold on. I just feel like there's something here. So d5, the king moves to e5. Probably just simply knight to d7 check. And the king would have to come to d6, and then just queen c7 would be checkmate there, because now the knight's guarding c5. So yeah, that one's going to be the simplest way if the king steps forward. All right, so now we got to look at if white takes. So d5, now c takes d5. I believe this queen takes d5 is check. King to e3. We do have knight g2 as his double check. Yeah, knight g2 is double check, so the king has the move. And only two squares would be e2 and d3. d3 almost hangs the queen. I feel like I'm making this puzzle a lot harder than it needs to be. For some reason, I'm having a hard time calculating these lines here. So d5, check, pawn takes. I mean, probably what's simple is just take back with the e pawn. Like e takes d5. And then if king to e3 at that point, then I have rook to e8 check. And we'll very quickly win there, because the king will have no squares to move to. He can block with a knight, rook takes, queen blocks, and then just rook takes. Because the pawn guards that. So king would have to move over here, but now we're winning. The pawn up first, and then his king moves back. At d5, king to if the king moves to e3 right away, what is my move then? I just feel like there should be something better than what I'm seeing here. Because I'm not seeing how I'm already up a piece. I could just take the knight on e8. That might just be the simplest thing. Just the king out in the open really makes me want to be able to checkmate. If I go queen f5 check, I'm going to f5 check. If king goes to e3, I have knights. Yeah, we have knight g2, and then the king goes to e2. And then I can check on c2 with the queen, and that is checkmate, actually. Okay, so that's the line, right? So queen f5, check. The king goes to e3. And then we have knight to g2, which is double check. And the king's forced to e2. And then we can play queen to c2, which is checkmate. Okay, now if queen to f5 check and g takes f5, then I can look at this E takes f5, check. We have king to e3, only move. No, I guess it's not the only move. The king could come to the king could come to e5. Yeah, rook e8 check. So king would have to come to d6. And then this is where it starts to get probably a little messy. So I think it's d5, but I just don't know what happens after king here. King e3. I mean, unless the point is I can go queen d2 right away. But queen d2 and then knight d6. And that is not helping me in this position. Why am I making this more complicated than it needs to be? I'm going to see the answer to this, and I would just feel like a dummy here. All right, d5 check. It's probably just taking this knight on c8. That is probably the move. The king can't move though right now. The king only has one square. That is this is why I'm so caught up on this puzzle. I think it's because the king only has one square. Oh, I'm a dum-dum. d5, king e3, knight to g2 check, king e2, and then queen d2 is checkmate. If d5, king steps up, we've already looked at that. Just knight d7, king d6, queen c7 is checkmate. If d5, pawn takes, this we might have to be a little careful with which pawn we take back with. I'm guessing probably just e takes though. Would it really matter? All right, just d5. I didn't even need to play it out. Okay. All right, queen h5 check. I mean, the king has the move, and then we just give checkmate. That looks easy enough. Queen h5, king f8, queen f7 checkmate. Queen h5, king e7, queen af7 checkmate. Yeah, I don't see any other Any other moves? Okay. Okay, what's going on here? I'm equal in minor pieces, equal in rooks, equal queens, 4 pawns against 4 pawns. Okay, everything's equal. What is wrong with this position? I believe it's that I can play rook b6 and win this bishop on d6 because the queen has no way to guard it. All right, so rook and b6. Does black have anything to threaten me with? I guess he can just take this pawn, but after knight takes, move the queen. Like black can get a pawn for the piece, but we're still winning. Okay. All right, playing with the white pieces here. Looks like bishop takes e6 is check. If king h8, then queen takes f8 is checkmate. And if bishop takes e6 and rook f7, then we have queen takes f7 check, king h8, and then queen g8 is checkmate. And there's no other moves for black. Okay. So this one looks fairly simple with the mating net around the white king. So rook f2 check. If king goes to g1, we have queen g2 checkmate. If king goes to h3, what is my move here? Oh, just the same thing. It looks like queen g2 or queen h1. King comes out to g4, and then you have h5, which would be checkmate. Right, so I'm guessing it's not going to have me play it all the way out because I can go queen g2 or queen h1 after the king moves. Okay, playing with the white pieces, looks like I can just play bishop g4, and it's going to pin the queen to the king, and there's no other threats for me to deal with. This one's the queen. This is a back rank checkmate. So we just give check, and then the king can't ever step up. This is also a back rank checkmate. I can take on f2, king h1, and then queen f1 check. Rook takes f1, rook takes f1 is checkmate. I believe this is also checkmate. Bishop f2 check. If king goes either to e2 or d2, just queen e3 is going to be checkmate. Alright, and with the white pieces or black pieces, I can just take on g2 with the check, and the king can't move to g1 because of this bishop, and so that is going to be checkmate. Because the rook is, or the bishop's guarded by the rook on g8. All right, so white gives or black gives a check. I believe I just step up. Okay, that was one of those somewhat weird puzzles. This one I could give checkmate on h2 if this knight on f3 wasn't here. So this is why looking at your most forcing moves, checks being the most forcing here. Queen takes h2 would be checkmate, but knight takes h2 ruins that idea. So if I can get rid of knight on f3, I can give checkmate. So knight takes f3 check, either queen or pawn takes is going to be followed up by queen takes h2. And if king h1, queen takes h2 as well. So we're removing the defender. I can block the check with bishop f1. Queen moves, and then I take the knight with either the rook. Yeah, because I don't see any anything else. It looks like I'm just winning a piece. If my king moves, then black can move his knight because the queen wouldn't be under attack. So bishop f1, forcing the queen to move, and then allowing me to win the rook, or win the knight with the rook. All right, playing with the black pieces here. I can take this. Can I take this? Queen takes, no. What? Oh yeah, rook takes h6, queen takes h6. Looks like the bishop can't take, but then I can take on g3. Go queen takes g3. And at that point, I'm up with bishop. And so if white takes back my queen, then I play bishop takes h6. I will have won a bishop. So yeah, that looks correct. Okay. This looks like I take the knight on e5. And so the reason this move really pops out to me, just right away, first of all, I don't have any checks. So the next thing we do is look at captures. So knight takes e5. But what I'm noticing is these two bishops aren't defended. I mean, okay, the bishop on d3 is guarded right now by the knight. But as soon as I take this, white's not exactly forced to take back, but yeah, I mean, if white doesn't take back, they just lose a piece. So d takes e5, and then d takes e5, or c4. I'm sorry, d takes e4, attacking this bishop now that's no longer defended. And if the bishop moves, then I win the bishop on d2 because of the queen's x-ray. And if bishop takes pawn, then just king takes, and yeah, I'm still just up a piece. I guess not up a piece, but I get my piece back for the exchange I gave. Whatever. I'm just up a full rook. Never mind. Just don't listen to me. Bad material count. Okay. The white pieces here. If I go a6. Yeah, just a6 just looks right. Right, I want to play A6 here. King C7, and then A7. Okay, so the king can't catch my pawn. I'm just going to push it down the board here. So now I just take the knight. Because we're threatening to promote. Blocking with the queen, but I have rook G6. Just winning the queen there. So it looks like I just play queen C3 check. I'm at least winning the queen after the king moves, but I mean that's enough for me to want to play that move. So where's the king move? The king goes here. I can then check, and then we're actually going to give checkmate actually. So. All right, 43 seconds left. All right, rook b2 attacking our bishop that is undefended right now. That is a very good point. And it looks like if I go bishop to c4, I thought white could play bishop takes e6, but I can actually go queen takes e6 because that'll guard my bishop on c4. So perfect. And with that, we are done. So this was our first day of 2019. Working on our habit of solving tactics every day. And so while I want to do videos every day of tactics training, I don't want to put myself into a position where I feel very obligated to do it, but it will be my attempt to do tactics training videos every single day, so I can showcase, like, not showcase, but to show my thought process, and then see how that evolves over time. And so yeah, just kind of resetting everything. So if you've seen some of the videos in the past, this will be very similar to this, and we started over at the very bottom. So if you're stronger than this stuff, then obviously this might be a little boring, but once we get into the later videos, then you'll get the harder puzzles and really start to see me think through the process. So anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure you click the subscribe button down below and click that little bell so you get notified when new videos are posted. Like I said, we're going to attempt every single day this year to post tactics videos, but we'll see how the year progresses. Just the biggest goal is working on the habit of doing chess every single day and not getting into a slump. So with that being said, we'll see you on the next video, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.